So they're gonna need a little bit of help processing the lactate they produce. And one of the cool things that can happen is that the lactate produced in, say, like a fast twitch fiber could be transferred to a neighboring slow twitch fiber within the same muscle, therefore making it easier for the fast twitch fibers to also recover more quickly and effectively between bouts of higher intensity exercise. Now, there are going to be limitations to this, and what I mean by that is limitations on how much lactate we can process at the local level within that actual muscle. Yes, if somebody is more fit and they have higher quality and a greater number of mitochondria, they could process more of that lactate, but eventually, no matter who you are, you'll get to a point where it's too much and you'll get some spillover. And what we mean by spillover is when that excess lactate that can't be processed in the muscle alone will spill over and move into the bloodstream. And you can actually measure lactate levels going up as exercise intensity increases. I actually have a lactate meter at home where I can poke my finger, get a little blood, and see what my lactate levels are at. And that's one way to figure out your zone 2. We'll get into that in just a second. But once it's in the bloodstream, you now have the ability to have multiple other cells and tissues help you process this lactate. And one of those is the amazing heart. And yes, I'm a little ashamed of this because we are in an anatomy lab and I tried to draw real hard, just didn't work well. So this is what we get. But the amazing heart has these cardiac muscle fibers that also can improve their mitochondrial number and their quality through consistent training. And so that lactate can go into the muscle cells of the heart, get into the mitochondria of the heart muscle fibers, and make more ATP. We can also send that lactate to the liver. Now, the liver does something a little different. Instead of funneling it into mitochondria and creating more ATP out of it, it will actually convert that lactate into glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, which is pretty beneficial because that can help maintain blood glucose levels, and that glucose could be utilized later on for future production of ATP. So how do you actually do zone 2 training and find your own personal zone 2? Well, at the beginning of the video, we mentioned zone 2 is a form of steady state cardio done at a moderate intensity. And that steady state is important. When you're doing zone 2 training, you don't want to be bouncing between the different training zones or different training intensities and just average it out to zone 2. You actually want to stay just within that zone 2 throughout the duration of the exercise session. And that will give you the most physiological benefits and adaptations. Now, if you've never heard of the different training zones, that's okay. The endurance athlete world talks about these training zones a lot. Sometimes they have 5 zones, 6 zones, 7 zones. I personally like the 5, but 1 would be the easiest, 5 would be the hardest. And again, we're gonna mostly focus on this zone 2, obviously. And we're gonna talk about how to find it with the cheapest way, just by yourself, all the way up to paying people and buying your own equipment. So let's start with the least expensive way, and actually one of the most effective ways to find your zone 2.